Our hot dice. So today we're going to start the first in this series of tackling the pile of shame. So I'm going to be painting a lot of models I have arranged on a huge bookshelf here, which I will probably show you when it's a bit tidier. For now, all you need to know is I have 5 Forge World models that I bought a few years ago, and they've been sitting there half painted, unloved, you know, the standard. So the idea is to tackle those because I've recently found a few painting tutorials on Instagram, and I got the urge to buy some more models to try those techniques out. So the primary motivation for me doing these videos is because I find that I just don't have the time or the motivation to paint like I used to, and I was a lot less busy, probably a little bit younger and had more energy. So this motivates me to create content, to do some painting, to push myself technically, and that's what I'm going to do. But for today, we're going to really be looking at like a speed painting, edge highlighting. So it's kind of the accumulation of knowledge that I've gained so far, and it'd be great to look back at this one day and compare what I've done. So what I'll do is, as the video goes on, you'll see that I'll post up different images of paints, so you'll be able to see the paints that I'm using at that time. And the rough edge mixing, so no wet palettes here. This is something you could do at home really easily with some basic materials, and you'll see it's quite fast. So if we just click into it now, so this is the squad after I'm done. So this is obviously post I'm doing this. It's the vobrak word bearers, those filthy word bearers from Forge World. Lovely models, loads of detail, so not easy for a starter painter. So what we found is I had a pile of them, and this is what I had initially. You can see the high gloss in the fleshy bits. I think I'm going for a Venom vibe here, but as beautiful as it might look to some, it was a little, it didn't stand out against the red. You can see I've tried some edge highlighting, but not everywhere. It's a bit messy. So to bring out the flesh, I wanted to go for something more skin tone. So the panels are obviously going to be red because it's word bearer red. So the opposite of the wheel on that is green. So I'm not going to do green flesh, but what I'm going to do actually is add a little bit of green to the flesh tones, and that will make them pop, hopefully. So this is us starting. I've actually gone straight away here with, I'm using Vallejo model colour. I've got a US dark green, but any dark green from Citadel will do. And I'm just going straight in there, and I've mixed that with a bit of dark brown. In this case, it's US olive drab. I love this colour. It's my favourite colour, US olive drab. Put it in everything. So that's going in, and regularly being careful, but not particularly careful. I mean, I'm going to go over the red again because it all needs cleaning up a bit. So just making sure I get all the flesh. So what I've found is models just look better if you can get all the details. I used to be lazy. I used to spray things black, and I used to just miss all the little details, trying to get it done quickly, usually. Or I was afraid of tackling that with different colours later on. No, do not let any bit of detail get away. If you see it, it looks even slightly like it should be the colour you're going for, just put it on, and you'll find that it just looks a lot better. So this is the olive drab I've got here. So what I tend to do, I've just got a piece of plastic for a palette there. I'll dab 3 colours: dark brown, my dark green, and then my fleshy tone, which I'm actually building up here with an ivory and a brown sand colour. So I'll start with those 2 darker colours, the brown and the green, and then introduce slowly the lighter colours. And I'm keeping it nice and wet, and I'm just not being too careful. I want to go for the more painterly style here. So I'm still doing the dark green at the bottom. I've noticed I missed the feet there. I hate doing feet. I hate doing bases. I don't know if you're like me, but bases are the enemy. So now, yes, you can see here I'm starting to go for the higher bits of the slightly lighter tone. And I've finished for now because I think I'll go for a brown wash here. So now I'm bringing out some Games Workshop paints. Just classic corn red. It's quite thin, but I thin it down anyway, and then I'm going over all the plates. Now the reason I've done this is you can see on the horns, it seems to go from like a metal armor to skin. I want to get the transition, so I've gone straight for the darkest tone of red I'm using, which is the corn red, and I'm putting it down on the obvious plate parts. But then I'm also then starting to mix that with the dark green brown blend. So you see I've just got piles of puddles I've just blending in when I need them, so the colour's always there and it's kept a little bit wet. And that should hopefully create a bit of a transition from the armour plate to the skin. Just going over the bits I've missed now. Cat right on cue. Okay, straight back in with the green now. Now I've got the red down, I feel I can go back in and start doing those transitions. So this is the slightly lighter green. Again, just getting the slightly higher parts. Not being too careful because I don't want the skin to be green in the end. This is just to help me create a bit of transition. So you can see I've ultimately got it there. As you can see, a slight transition from dark to lighter green. And now I'm just putting the brown wash down, the earth shade. Agrax Earthshade GW, because it usually comes out quite matte. I'm just going into all the areas where I want to bring out the detail on the red and ultimately on the skin areas. Probably my favourite wash. But I haven't tried any other brands yet, so that's on my bucket list. Try the Vallejo washes, try P3, try all of them really and see what happens. But I feel like I bought a Nuln Oil shade from Citadel, which used to be quite good, but it's really watered down now. I don't know, they've changed the formula in the last few months. I don't blame them. It was like gold dust getting hold of this. None of my hobby stores had any in stock. Okay, so now the wash is dried. I'm now going straight in with the higher. You can see it's almost completely now the US dark green mixed with the ivory. So it's gonna hopefully not look green at the end, but it will look quite sickly, and it is demonic at the end of the day. Not nurgly, like I said, I'm covering most of the green here, but it just gives it that depth. And you can already see from, you know, that glossy black ictory look I had before, where all the details was just lost in the model, just washed out completely by the gloss. It's already popping. And it's not as garish as having actually green skin as well. I could have had him like hulking out literally, but yeah, this is a trick. I can't remember, maybe it was Miniac, maybe it was one of those great painters online, plenty of them on YouTube. Yes, going opposites on the colour wheel look good, but just going pure colours on the opposites is just too much. So just try adding the opposite colours to certain tones on the model. You can see the mixing there. Just adding a little bit more of the ivory every time I go back over the skin. You can see some of the edge highlighting that I've done earlier. I'm going to leave the good stuff, obviously, especially on the hand. I like that, what I had on the hands. Starting to feel it coming together now, so I'm really going heavy on the ivory. Going up, there's lots of teeth coming out of the armour on this, so yeah, pure ivory now on the teeth, bring out them. Really popping. I'm seeing, this is getting to the end now and I'm thinking, okay, looking at the red, I've got a little bit of transition there, you can see in the red and the skin colour, it's not too garish. The highlighting on the edges will help that. There'll be an image at the end of this video, you can see the end result, because it's quite hard on the video to see while it's moving about how it's taking place, but it's quite a comic book style, I feel here. It's very bold, very harsh lines, very quick transitions, high impact. I mean, it's not a showstopper style maybe, where you put this into a painting competition, but I am not the kind of person to win a painting competition. But on the tabletop, it really pops. And that's kind of what I'm going for. As the series goes on, I'm going to start... What I really want to do is I want to start putting out those showpiece models. One thing coming back to painting after all this time is I've noticed I really can relax a little bit more. I'm not so much afraid, because this is my pile of shame. These are models that would just be gathering dust and have been gathering dust for years on my desk. As beautiful as they are, I am just playing around a little bit, mixing a bit here, adding a bit there, maybe playing with a little bit more colour, a little bit more dark, a little bit more wash, a little bit less. And yeah, it changes everything. I find when I do speed painting, I regret it afterwards, almost every time. I think this is now pure ivory. So because I've done the transition, I'm not afraid to do that. I mean, you'd think I would be mad if I just went straight from US dark green to ivory. It would look an absolute mess. So I'm happy with that. Here you are, you can see there the skin's looking good, it's looking finished. Now to just bring out that red, make it pop. So I've made a really bold skin tone now to make that red really bold as well. I want this to stand out on the table. So like I said earlier, going over the bits I was afraid to paint before or I missed. Like the belt is just black, it's just left black, and you don't think people notice, but it's just, I think something at the back of your mind just knows there's something unfinished about a model that doesn't have all those bits painted. Okay, so for the red, it is just the corn red, which is the base from Citadel, so it goes on pretty well. So I water that down because red used to be really bad pigments for Games Workshop. They used to struggle to go on anyway, but this is really handy. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use white. Obviously, that would give me a pink, but I've actually used a Vallejo clear orange, which I find gets good coverage. It's quite liquid, so you can mix it quite well. It waters down well, and it will blend with the red really well. So I'm going to put that again, 2 blobs near each other on a palette, about an inch apart, and then a bit of water in between, and then I just run them into each other, and then I can just really play around. Oh, a bit more orange actually, a bit more red, and as long as I'm just dipping a bit more water into there every now and then, it's staying wet, because I don't have a wet palette yet. That's something I'd like to play with. And then I'll find that just a little orange at first, go down on all the edges, and then a bit more orange, and every line I'm putting on for the edge highlighting is getting a little bit thinner every time. So don't be afraid to put quite a thick red line. So you've got a flat plate, and you imagine a flat plate, then you can go about a third of it's going to be that slightly lighter red, and then half of that again is going to be with the more orange, and then half and half again, and you can see there I've got that transition. Really comic book pop. So obviously green is the theme for the skin. For the pipe work, all the hose is going to from the helmet, and then the eyes I'm going to use a really bright green, because I'm not afraid that that's going to look unnatural. So if you've got big sausage fingers like me, eyes are an issue, to say the least. So I'm just blobbing it in there relatively well. And what I can always do then is I can come back in with red and I can clean it up. Of course, washes are always your friend here. Final inspection. So what I've done actually a bit of, for the silver work, just lead belcher, a dark silver, a black wash, which is Nuln Oil, and then a little bit of belcher on top, making sure it's quite thin. I don't want to lose the details, and then a Vallejo silver colour to just help all the rivets pop as well. And then for the green pipework and the eyes, I've done the same. I've added a little bit of the ivory to this bright green that I'm using. Sorry, I forgot to say that's deep green I'm using. And just putting a dot on the eye, that's enough. And one thin line that runs on the top end, the top band where the light would be most likely to hit it. And there you go. Didn't take me too long. It's got high impact. You can see the edge highlighting. I could probably go a bit lighter. Here's a good one for the hand there. Obviously, the more edges, the more opportunity you have to play around and show off with edge highlighting. I was quite pleased with this. I know I could do better if I spent more time, done finer lines, maybe more transitions. But that's the point of this, is to see how much further I can go. And for starting, I'm really happy with that. I mean, some might not be, but you are who you are. So thanks for that. I hope that was helpful. You can see where I am. Got a lot of room for improvement. I'm not really good on sitting down and having the patience for fine details. But I have now finished the squad, and my squad is on the Hot Dice Instagram, so you can go on there and have a look, and you can see the whole unit. So my next project, I've painted those 5 models, and I'm itching because I've seen some techniques where you have some weathered cloaks and armor to really get this. I've always struggled to get a nice silvery, steely armor that looks realistic, but that's going to be my next mission. And I've spotted some Sisters of Battle, which I shouldn't really be buying because that's 10 extra models for the 5 I've just painted. But I promised myself I will finish these, and that's my next project. So join me for that, and thanks for watching. Okay, cheers, bye.